Well, hello and thanks for watching another episode of ARFCOM News, your twice-weekly dose of the finest 2A propaganda. The ATF sent out a warning to Texas FFL holders that cartels are trying to get hold of 50 cal rifles and belt feds through straw sales.
Hey, I've seen this one. This is a classic.
So apparently now the ATF is against arming the cartels? Who knew? I'm sure you remember the infamous Fast and Furious scandal where the ATF pressured dealers into completing straw sales, allowing numerous guns to flood into Mexico and back across the border, ultimately ending the life of Border Patrol agent Brian Terry. The ATF claimed they were trying to disarm the cartels by giving them lots of guns.
So then I shot off another flare at the first flare, because you know what they say, you gotta fight fire with fire.
One might be tempted to think the ATF didn't care at all about disarming the cartels and instead was simply trying to create propaganda to disarm Americans, but if that were true, then no one would have been held accountable for the abysmal failure of the operation. But it would be impossible for us to produce quality 2A propaganda without sponsors. So let's pay some bills. Today's video is sponsored by TNVC.com, your source for bespoke artisanal night vision.
Hey friend, it's dark half the time on this planet. Unless you got magic powers or a mountain of carrots, you're gonna need TNVC to see at nighttime the right way.
And by Springfield Armory, their new Echelon can mount virtually any micro red dot and has a modular fire control group. And by Vault Pro, proudly manufacturing the finest American-made safes, vault doors, safe rooms, and storm shelters. Okay, so which one of you was this? Kalkaska County, Michigan sheriff deputies responded to complaints from a man's neighbors that it sounded like he was shooting a machine gun. When deputies arrived, he answered the door with a pistol in his hand, always a smart move when you're dealing with law enforcement, after he admitted he was shooting at crows in his backyard in the direction of his propane tank. The deputies obtained a search warrant and found 3 pipe bombs, a 40mm grenade launcher, and some other guns. The man claimed the pipe bombs were for fishing, but for the record, that still wouldn't have made them legal even if they were. According to the ATF press release, he got over 4 years in prison, which was an enhanced sentence because he was drunk and high when he was shooting. Good thing for him, he didn't have a drawing of an autoseer, or he could have been looking at a lot more prison time.
Shout like that, they put you in jail.
Then again, maybe if he wasn't drunk and high, he wouldn't have been shooting at crows with a binary trigger in a residential neighborhood. Friends, I believe destructive devices are protected arms, and he shouldn't have been in trouble for having the bombs or the grenade launcher. I also believe it is insanely dangerous to shoot in a congested area and just plain stupid to get drunk and high and shoot with a binary trigger in the direction of a propane tank.
Not up in here! Not up in here!
If you have the time, you really ought to read through the sentencing document, which we included down there in the doobly-doo. The guy also had a set of BDUs with his name on the name tape and US Army tape, but he had never actually served in any branch of the military. He violated bond conditions, and he kept coming over to his ex-wife's house to poke around and just generally harass the crap out of her. Overall, the statements he made sound dumb and crazy when he was talking to the cops. So, what do you think? How should a situation like this be handled? The NFL is more worried about sports ball players making gun-related gestures than they are about physically shoving officials. Each of these dudes was fined almost 14 grand, even though one of them was not disciplined at all for pushing a referee. The NFL referred to this vaguely gun-like celebration as a violent gesture, but that means they consider the very thought of a gun to be violence. No word yet on the body count inflicted by the violent gesture, but somehow I get the feeling sports ball players are a lot more dangerous off the field. Mark Blount versus US has been dismissed without prejudice. This was a 189-page lawsuit seeking to repeal the NFA, GCA, and FOPA, in which Mark Blount represented himself. Mr. Blount definitely does not have a fool for a client though, because he is a very smart man, as is made clear by his Twitter page and the opening paragraph of his lawsuit for some reason. And while his lawsuit probably could have been more concise and narrowly targeted, the reason it was dismissed is absolutely infuriating. the judge claims that Mr. Blount lacks standing because he hasn't actually violated those unconstitutional laws. So in Doug Harpool's opinion, you can't challenge any unconstitutional law unless you're willing to break the law and get thrown in a cage. So how could we ever challenge a law unless we're willing to have our entire life ruined on the chance that we don't have the money or the time or the luck to be successful in court? This is absolutely unacceptable. Anyone should be able to challenge any law on the merits of its constitutionality at any time. Ultimate Training Munitions published a memo stating they are no longer allowed to sell their non-lethal training ammo to us plebes. ATF believes they have virtually limitless authority to dictate what sort of ammo may be imported into the US, and UTM makes this ammo in the UK. The ATF isn't saying what their justification is, but let's be honest, there really isn't any way to rationalize this move. It is quite clearly intended only to interfere with quality training for regular folks. Thankfully, Airsoft provides a much lower cost solution for force-on-force training. And UTM isn't the only company which makes training ammunition. But it's also frustrating to see companies just roll over like this, so I urge you to email sales@utmusa.com and tell them they should stop all sales to the DOJ until this order is lifted and build or license a US-based production facility. And now, for your moment of Zen. Hey friends, do you like pews and other pew-related things? Would you like to help us keep delivering you pure, uncut American pew propaganda at the low, low price of free fitty? We literally couldn't pay the bills without our sponsors, so do us a solid and get yourself something nice from them. You deserve it. I love you.